Hi there, this is Chris from MoneyHub, and this video summarizes our guide how to protect your finances from inflation. So right now we can see inflation is quite high, and we can see that the current rate on the Reserve Bank side is 6.9, but we're used to, prior to about 2020, we're used to about 2% or even 0% inflation, and things have suddenly just gone completely crazy. Now we won't go into the reasons for this. What we are focused on is certainly trying to make your money go as further as possible as it can during these inflationary times. So just as a background, we've got 10 helpful tips, and I'm just going to go through them here and explain them in summary. And also, just before I do that, I would strongly suggest checking out 4 of these guides. So we have a very useful guide for saving lots of money on household bills. So ways to cut back on things, just challenging yourself on all sorts of spending. Then if you are part of a family that's moving to a single income, maybe you've decided to have a child, or maybe you're having a career break or something like that, or someone's sick, then we've got some tips there to consider and also help you transition to that. And then we've got a guide to cutting driving costs, which is easier said than done, but there are actually lots of ways that you can make some significant savings. Then of course saving money on food, which is a quite popular guide throughout the time it's been on MoneyHub. So first of all, I'll just go into point number 1. So these are our 10 ways to combat inflation. We see a lot of very low savings account type interest rates. So I wrote a guide to this, or I wrote an article in Stuff in 2021, and it's really just about how a lot of banks offer these very low interest rates because they know that people probably won't change, and they just put the money in there, and sadly it's a bit of a rip-off. So right now, of course, inflation is high, so even if you are able to get a 2% or 3% or whatever percentage on your savings, it's not going to keep up with inflation, but it's certainly going to be better than near zero. So we've got some helpful links here which you can quickly read through and see what kind of offers are out there in terms of savings. We always update those, so it's absolutely worth checking out. So we believe that the slight differences do make a difference. I mean, right now we can see maybe the difference between 0% savings accounts and 2% is obviously 2%, but in time we expect this to change, and whatever time it is now that you're watching this, we just know that putting money into a higher interest savings account is definitely the right step forward. Now also, lots of people have said, well, what about investing? Now yes, we do believe that it's all part of a diversified strategy. So of course you wouldn't want all your money in the bank if you're in for the long term, for your long-term needs. So managed funds are one option here. So we've published some guides to that. You can also put it into your KiwiSaver. Lots of people are doing that as well if they want to access it later, or if they're planning to purchase a home. But it's just worth working out that you shouldn't probably panic and leave all of your money into the bank, because you're certainly not going to get the best return from it. And of course, with inflation so high, it's going to eat away at the value. Now, number 3, subscription costs. These are a massive cost throughout New Zealand. There's so many subscriptions for everything, and people have begun to challenge them, but we always think it's a quick way to save a lot of money. So we're talking about these TV ones, we're talking about possibly food related ones, or some sort of beauty stuff, or anything that you're thinking, I'm paying lots of money per month, do I really need this? And if you don't, and if you don't even want it, then it's certainly time to start cutting them out. So Netflix, a lot of people have turned off, literally just unsubscribed, and that's of course them some issues. But really, it's about what you value and just making an informed choice there. So lots to think about, but we say that the best view is just to look at your credit card or your bank statements, or both, for the last 2 months, and just go through with a pen, print them out, and be like, wow, do I actually want this? Do I want to be paying for this next month? And then start cutting things out. I do it myself, and it's always quite liberating, because you don't want to relive those payments month after month, especially if you identify them. So if in doubt, look at your statements and make a choice, and I think it'll probably be the right one. And we've seen a lot of changes with with regards to insurance costs, because they keep going up, power company costs, there's a whole bunch of things going on there. We've done some research, mobile phone, broadband. So we've got a whole lot of guides here which compare everything, and we find that really helpful for people just to at least get a gauge on generating their own quotes, generating their own prices, and then making a better choice. We were shocked when we did power company research that we saw for a simple Auckland house, the difference was about $1,000 between providers, from the from the cheapest to the most expensive, and that's just for power. There's no actual difference in the product. You're heating your home, you're having the lights on, etc., etc. So we know that there are savings to be made out there, and certainly savings come to those who compare. So we do think that you should shop around. We've made it really easy, and certainly it's worth doing. So then, fixing your mortgage. Right now, mortgage rates will continue to rise, and this is because the official cash rate, which you can see back on this here, is 1.5%. That used to be a lot lower, and so now you can see that since October, so I'm doing this video in the start of April 2022, but you can see it's come from 0.25, and it's pretty much gone up 6 times in about 1 year, and it's of no it's not a rumor that it's going to go up further. So we believe that if you take a view that you believe interest rates will go up in the future, the best decision then is to lock in a fixed interest rate for as long as possible. So that just comes down to how much you're willing to how much you're willing to risk and what your view is of the market. We're of course not giving financial advice here, but we are saying, during these times it is probably financially sensible to lock in for longer, because you will save money. So that's a very pertinent point for anyone with a mortgage. And then at the same time, we're looking at supermarket costs, because they seem to go side and side with housing costs. We're seeing a huge costs, huge price rise in those. And so we've put some tips together here, and we've got also a YouTube video linking out to something called the Pantry Challenge, where we suggest people think, okay, I don't need to go and buy new food. I've got all this stuff sitting at home. Yes, the food might cost more later, but right now you can, go through your pantry and mix and match and just work with that. And I would strongly suggest you watch those videos. It's become some sort of mini viral challenge, not so viral because it's not that appealing to people to do. It's not so photogenic or fun, but certainly it's financially savvy. So we've got a link to a tool here, something called Grocer, which is quite useful, and we're just talking about how to save money, because there is such a huge cost rise for these groceries. We're hoping that the introduction of new challenger brands like Costco will bring them down, but we don't really have any insights in what's going to happen in the short term. Now, also to challenge inflation and to help protect your finances, looking for a pay rise. We're happy to hear that some people are getting them, but at the same time, a lot of people aren't. So it's really sometimes it's just worth changing jobs to get a pay rise. The unemployment rate, whatever it is, there's certainly a buoyant job market, and it's really important to to understand that you're not fixed where you are. You can change. You can use job offers to negotiate depending on what you're doing. So we do think that there's a lot of room there for employers to pay more. They're having to pass on costs. We understand that, and they're obviously going to have to increase whatever the prices of whatever they're selling. But at the same time, there's no reason for you to be disadvantaged by no pay rises or very, very small pay rises. And then we're looking now also at big ticket purchases. So we believe some things will keep going up in price and not really slow down. And some of those include cars, housing materials, trips around New Zealand. We're not entirely sure, no one can predict it. But basically our view is here, if you do plan to buy something large, we're not talking about a house or anything, we're talking about something that's physical and not something that you have for life, or basically just not a non-house asset. then do consider buying it up front. And also, there's lots of government support. We know that work and income hasn't got the best reputation, but at the same time, it certainly has the support to be able to give benefits where they're due. And like working for families, that's one example, and the accommodation supplement. So always be checking that you are entitled to them, and what you are entitled to, because they're designed to help people who meet the threshold of their support. And then finally, and this is something that I always throw in with these type of topics, is looking at your second car. Second car is often a bit of a luxury, and it's very much a inflation buster when you sell it. Now, I'm not telling everybody to go and sell their second car, but what I'm saying is that there is certainly a huge saving to be made from doing so, because you just save on the warrants, you save on the insurance, you save on the registrations, you save on the maintenance costs, and it possibly could mean that you get more familiar with public transport if that's an option, and you're not having to constantly refuel it. And just cars sitting there also depreciate in value, so whatever you bought it for, like the longer that you take to sell it, the longer that you own it, is going to be worth less. So do have a look at that. You can click on our car valuation guide, and that will take you to some tools which will give a rough estimate of what you could sell it for. So as I said, we certainly have some more guides to help you, and these are 4 of them right here. And if you can do even 5 changes or 5 sort of implementations from all these lists, then you're certainly going to help weather the storm of this inflation, not hurricane, but certainly inflation period. So we wish you the best of luck. We're always updating the guides. If you have anything that you want to share with us, please let us know. Please comment below, and please send us an email to our contact form through the MoneyHub website. Thank you very much.